Hello everybody and welcome to your next set of video notes. This is Mr. Basil and let's get started. So this is learning target 4.2 at the meets level, and the thing that you have to be able to do is determine everything that you had to do before, like the protons, electrons, etc., but for ions. So remember, an ion is an atom with an electrical charge due to an excess or lack of electrons. Okay, so electrons can be added or electrons can be taken away from an atom, and when that happens, you can end up with more positive charge or more negative charge, and that determines the charge of the atom. Because remember, protons are positively charged, electrons are negatively charged, and so if you have more of one or the other, then you have an imbalance. And so the ion charge equals the number of protons minus the number of electrons. Okay, so if you have more protons than electrons, you're going to have a positively charged ion. And if you have less protons than electrons, then you're going to have a negatively charged ion. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I just took this from one of your pieces of practice. Friendly reminder, have your periodic table of elements out. You're doing the odds, so I'll do some of the evens as example problems. So let's just look at number 18 here first. So this one, we can see that I've got Ca, but then see how it has a 2 plus up there? That tells me that this is a charge, that this is positively charged, and its charge is 2. And so you can see that over here that is written. The atomic symbol you should always write what the atomic or what the ion charge is if it is an ion. And then this one's nice because it also gives me the mass number. Now calcium, does not matter if it's an ion or what's going on here. Calcium will always have 20 protons. That will never change. The number of electrons could change, the number of neutrons could be different, but it has to be 20 for calcium. So when I come in here to do my protons, I'm going to write in 20. The atomic number is also 20. Okay. So now I have two things I have to figure out. Figure out my neutrons, and I have to figure out my electrons. And so for this one, remember that I have a +2 charge. So that means I have 2 more protons than electrons. Or the way that you can think about it is that, 2 equals the number of protons. So in this case, it's 20 minus the number of electrons. Okay, and so in order for this to happen, that means that I have to have 18 electrons. So if I have 18 electrons, if I put in 18 there, 20 minus 18 is what gets me an overall charge of 2. There are a lot of ways you can think about this, but that's the way I'm just going to be going over this now. The way I usually think about this is like, okay, I've got 20 protons, my charge is 2 plus, so then, okay, that means I have to have 2 less electrons than protons. But the thing that gets a little confusing about this is that electrons are negatively charged, protons are positively charged, we're subtracting here, right? So there's a lot that you could get a little confused about. So my recommendation is choose one method and go along with it. And if you're not sure, you're learning right now, so why don't you go along with the method I'm showing you here. So I just used this equation here, which is number of protons minus number of electrons. All right, then number of neutrons, that one's fairly straightforward because you just take your mass number, 39, minus the number of protons, so 20. So that brings us to what, 19? Yeah, I think that's right. So 19 neutrons. So there you go. Why don't you pause, see if you can do number 20, and I'll go over the answer here in just a moment. Sorry, I think I just said number 19. I'm going to be going over number 20. So, oops. Okay, here are the answers. So this is titanium, Ti. Look on the periodic table. It's element number 22. So see if you can find that if you don't already. So atomic number is 22. The number of protons is 22. And then this 3 plus, that tells me what the charge is here. Another way you could look at that is you got to do the number of protons minus the number of electrons. So 22 minus 19, that also gives you 3 plus. And then the mass number is given to me once again. So I just take the mass number minus the number of protons. That gets me my number of neutrons. Let's do one that's a little bit different this time. So let's go down to 22, looks a little bit different. So again, pause, see if you can do that one, and this will be the last example that I go over on this video. All right, here we go. So this one gave me my number of protons, which is 35, gave me the mass number, and it gave me the ion charge. So immediately I said, okay, that 35 is the atomic number and the number of protons. So I look on the periodic table, that is bromine. And then I put that minus charge on here because the charge is -1. Keep in mind, in chemistry, we never write the letter 1 or the number 1. So that's why this is just a minus. If you put 1 minus, that's okay. Not a big deal. Just letting you know that when we write things, we just usually don't write 1s. So you got your 35s, got 79. So mass number, pretty standard. Mass number minus the number of protons gives me my neutrons. And then over here, this is the new one. So remember, it's number of protons minus number of electrons. So that should give me -1. Another way to think about it is you need to have more electrons than protons in order to get a -1 charge in the end. So I have 36 electrons and 35 protons by 1, which gets me that -1 overall charge. All right, thanks for listening. See you next time.